come home. All us investors are going to collude. We get away with it because we're not a monopoly after all, but we all know we share common interests here in jacking up housing costs. The lenders, you understand? But we're all being infected on a local level. So I don't blame local lenders or real estate investors. It's all these policies are come emanating from on high, from those most evil men I talked about earlier at the uppermost echelon, those in power that control the purse strings. The top politicians figure it out, I'm naming names, and the money printers. Okay, you understand how this works? And then they got all their army, their multitude of minions that just go along with it because it's working in their favor. And all the other ones that work in the mainstream media, they see their numbers are good. They make a lot of money. Some of these people are treated like celebrities. You got the national syndicated. I mean, what's Lester Holt making? His contract for spewing out the news. Something, I mean, how many minimum wage workers out there working in a factory or on the farm can do the same damn thing? Hey, give me a chance. I could do it. But I'm not spewing out lies. I'll be an investigative journalist. The first interview I'm going to do is with the head of the Federal Labor Department. And they got some splaining to do. And I want to hear about his predecessor and predecessor and his predecessor, on, and figure out how they didn't give commensurate cost of living adjustments to federal minimum wage workers and what they've done to this country, how they balkanized us and divided us and cheated the workers out of fair pay. And can be blamed too. They can be blamed roundly for runaway cost of living inflation. Because if by mandate of law, employers, masters, bosses, whatever we want to call them, had to give realistic, that means commensurate, equivalent, proportional cost of living adjustments. If the cost of living goes up, if it goes down, it's a moot subject. And if the cost of living goes down enough, you can give them a pay decrease. Okay, if they're still getting more prosperous, they're making a little bit of progress, no matter how slowly and gradually that's happening, the population will be satisfied, happy. I'd be shut the hell up a long time ago before I even understood any of this injustice, which goes back to teenhood, man. I started to see it. It just was, and then it just, as I have explored it, it's crazy, man. It's sick. But they didn't drop the ball for over half a century by accident. These are people with all the degrees, the PhDs, that are running up these agencies, right? So they hire their resume. They want the ones with all the college certificates, acronyms behind their names that run these labor departments. So you're going to tell me, how did they drop the ball so badly year after year, decade after decade, for well over half a century now, steadily, gradually, slowly, normalizing slavery through the federal minimum wage, balkanizing and dividing America, causing this great wealth imbalance? Yeah, they could have stopped the whole thing. The Federal Labor Department could have stopped it in its tracks. It never could have gotten out of hand if they had just come out and announced whenever it went up or down. This is a big deal. I mean, the prices that employers have to pay their employees, we all know that's a big deal to them. So that's where the rubber would have met the road. That's where we would have had the conversation. Is the cost of living going down? Well, nobody's going to complain because your money is worth more now. Right? But if the cost of living is going up and our money is worth less, somebody's got some splaining to do. So then you say, well, let's look at these people in this industry. Oh, is there a genuine supply shortage interruption there? Is that how you explain what happened? Is there an inordinate demand? Are you bringing in too many illegal or undocumented, workers? What's going on here? We got some splaining, and these people, because people put a demand on everything, from housing and food. We all know that. You understand? So that could explain cost of living going up. You get what I'm saying here? Other than market manipulation, price rigging, price fixing, and collusion of various special interest groups have an interest in driving the price of this or that up. Housing in particular has been a big one. That's debased our currency, diluted our money, watered it down. And this is what I mean about normalizing slavery right under our noses. Not overnight, but over a long period of time. That's how they got away with it. That's where we are. That's that demonic rabbit hole toward hell. And that brick wall we're about to hit. And who's driving? They're out of control. Don't count on them. They're drunk. They're not paying attention. They're headed for a fog bank. Traffic stopped ahead. Bunch of little kids without seatbelts in the school bus. Man, their heads are going to be cracked open, man. There's going to be fiery wreck here. I mean, I'm just speaking figuratively, metaphorically, but when it hits the fan, it ain't going to be pretty. But it's all got to come crumbling down. All right, friends, I'm going to quickly get into some recent current events. I don't watch too much news anymore. It stresses me out too much. I get enough local news to satisfy my curiosity, but I don't find it particularly helpful. It just kind of makes me crazy. But the reason the problem persists, friends, is that there's an interest in the problems persisting. That's it. A little kid could say, you're right. It'd be much cheaper for society to just permanently end desperate poverty. Crime would dry up. All the problems associated with homelessness, $50 billion a year, the prison system and all this, all the need to spend money on these things would suddenly start drying up if you just ended desperate poverty. So it'd be infinitely cheaper to do that. But people's job security depends on the problem persisting. You get it? That's how sick and twisted we are on local level. That's what they've done because they're mad. We're madmen locally. And we're all culpable to some degree as long as dollars, man. We got to confess it and repent. Say, God, help us. Please, I can't wait to the day when there's no form of money and nobody around me that wants to take advantage of me through the money, because that's what they do. That's what slavers do. If they can't take it by violence and force, they use the purse strings, and that's where we're at. And we're in trouble. And only God can help us out of this mess, this quagmire, this septic hole we're in. You know, I want to make a point on generalizations. I mean, if in context they're fair, we know they're not absolute. There's always exceptions, and maybe a lot of exceptions. But this is where profiling comes in and generalizations. I mean, look, if one particular crime was being committed by 99.9% white guys, we're not going after black and brown women, right? So it's just reasonable and logical to understand why this happens in society, okay? And it's illogical to do the other, to pretend it's not, you know, a valid form of judgment to some degree, but only to a degree because of the exceptions there always are. You know, I wonder how much more of this corona crap the public can take psychologically. You know, it's taking a toll on people. It's very depressing. And I don't know if I already mentioned this, but I've been more depressed just the Kaiser report being off. I don't know if they lost their contract with RT, but their channel hasn't been up for well over a month now. So I hope they're just taking a sabbatical or something. But yeah, I miss listening to Max and Stacy and their great guests. I wish they would come back. All right, friends, I'm quickly on to some thoughts from the last week or two or whatever. While God is calling on all of us to mature, both as individuals and collectively, our very human, sinful nature invariably fights tooth and nail against mature behavior, against accountability. A stern warning. There exists grave danger in subliminally, semi-consciously, or fully consciously believing the deluded, twisted logic of men whom have foregone their consciences, even their very souls, for the lust of money. Precisely how we define the term death, if like evil men we are to believe death means that we no longer exist, period. No made-up judgment day, no day of reckoning. As such, under the spell of the twisted logic of evil men, whether advertent or inadvertent, those whom first forego their consciences, doing so most thoroughly are the smartest ones. Yeah, you don't forsake your conscience, your very soul. You're an idiot, basically, is the way these men think that rule the world. Get all the good things you've got coming by giving all the good things you've got to give. Friends, I got to leave it there. Listen. Try to be nice and nicer and nicer and enjoy your life and fill your hearts with so much love there's no room for any other crap, because basically everything else out there is crap. You know, may God's will be done on earth. It's going to be a great time. So be a decent human being and be found worthy and deserving of being there. No form of money. Nobody